It's going down, folks. I don't know if you've been watching the news in the last 12 to 14 hours or so, but we've gotten a list of indictments that have come out against former President Donald Trump, and it's coming out of New York City. Manhattan DA has convened there's a grand jury, and they have brought indictments against former President Donald Trump. So that's going down. We got all sorts of other stuff going down. We see the financial system melting down due to orders that seem to be coming from on high to take these banks out. We'll be talking a little bit more about that. And then we're also seeing that the defenses of the United States are coming down. We're having a bunch of bad news coming out of Lockheed Martin with F-35 fighter jet, which is supposed to be one of the main tools to defend the United States against foreign adversaries. We can't get those things off the ground. That's a problem. That's a really big problem, folks. We also have a failure of the hypersonic missile program. We're falling further and further behind not only the Russians, but the Chinese and other countries that are developing their own hypersonic weapons. So let's jump into all of that, folks, because we got a lot to cover. First off is the indictment that has come down against Donald Trump. And a bunch of you asked for me to respond, and I've waited. And I think I know there's some channels that just will give you their unfiltered, just reaction to things, and I think that I've seen. It seems like most of the channels out there have been taking their time and responding, and I think that's good, and I think that we all need to be doing that too. President Trump is looking at supposed to be surrendering on Tuesday again. We heard the rumors of that in prior weeks, right? But supposedly that's going to be happen. What's going to happen is it depends on what President Donald Trump does next. Does he choose to go to New York City and surrender? Does he choose to defy the warrant for his arrest? That's going to make a big difference out there, isn't it? Governor Ron DeSantis has already said that he will not comply with any extradition orders. So when New York gives Florida an extradition request and asks Florida sheriffs and Florida police officers to arrest Donald Trump and to move him to New York City, apparently Ron DeSantis has said that he will not order any government officials inside the state of Florida to comply with this. That's big. That in some ways kind of paves the way for potentially former President Donald Trump to not surrender. And if that happens, obviously the whole situation has changed even more significantly. Are they going to incarcerate him? Are there going to be pictures of him handcuffed? Because all these things are going to change things dramatically. We're on the very front edge here where people are responding about things that haven't happened yet. And how these things play out will determine how the country responds, how the world responds. And honestly, a lot of this is all about PR. How the PR happens is going to... All it takes is one picture that just captures it perfectly for that to become a rallying cry, a really big deal. Certain influential people standing up and planting their feet down and saying no. All these things haven't happened yet. Is this going to be the biggest news story of the year? Or is this going to be a speed bump that everyone kind of gets worked up over for about 5 minutes and then something else comes along and everyone chases after that squirrel, and this turns out to be a relatively nothing burger kind of thing. He just gets, brought in, they take his fingerprints, and he gets out on bail, and it just becomes a thing where he has to pay more legal fees than he normally would. If that's the case, then this is one big nothing burger, and why are we getting ourselves all worked up over? On the other hand, if this goes down in a different way, this could be, like I said, the biggest news story of the year, and could be the spark in the powder keg that sets things off to go parabolic. Once it starts feeding on itself, that's a situation where the whole world changes in a matter of days, weeks even. And we could see that. This has the potential for that. All you need is one side to get extremely agitated about something, like this indictment, and then the other side increasingly agitating the other side. So you get this cycle. And we saw this with John Brown in the Civil War, before the Civil War. We saw this with the election of President Lincoln back before the Civil War. You see these events that just start feeding back on each other, and once the ball starts rolling down the hill, it just doesn't stop. And so we could definitely be seeing that, but I think that it's wise to measure your responses, because like I said, this could turn into be one big old nothing burger. And if you've spouted your mouth off and you've jumped out there, you could look awfully foolish and potentially be in serious trouble. If things start rolling down the hill, don't worry. There will be plenty of time. There'll be plenty of time to jump on that bandwagon, because that's what everyone else will be doing too. There'll be tons of people jumping on the bandwagon. Don't feel the need to just run out there and get in front of everything, because you can get run over by things. Okay, that's the danger with running out in front, is you can get run over yourself when the thing turns. Or that's what happened in January of a previous year, right? Some people ran on ahead without thinking, and what happened to them was absolutely wrong, railroaded, injustice, awful stuff. But I think we can all agree that they made some bad choices along the way. They made some bad choices along the way, and they shouldn't have done what they did. They should have also thought about how this will look tomorrow or the next day, and not just what makes me feel good today. And we need to be careful about that. So folks, pay attention, keep informed, keep an eye on things, but watch what you say online, and also don't do anything stupid, right? Like I said, there'll be plenty of time. If things start rolling down a hill, there'll be plenty of time. Financial systems are out there melting down again. We're seeing more bank deposits coming out of banks, and we're starting to see a shift in the banking system from from checking accounts and non-interest-bearing accounts over to interest-bearing accounts. And this is draining significant reserves out of a lot of these banks, and they are struggling. They are borrowing more and more money from the Federal Reserve. This is making them more and more dependent upon the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve is also rolling out the FedNow system, which is going to be the backbone for the central bank digital currency, or the digital dollar. And the thing is getting set up. They are loaning out the money through the FedNow system to these banks, and they're forcing the banks to move over to it. And what we're going to see in the near term is these banks are in more and more trouble, because as the interest rates get hiked by the Fed, the banks get into more trouble, which makes them more dependent upon the Fed. And the Federal Reserve is the bankers pulling all the little strings and making the whole economy dance to their tune, and they are beholden to the deep state. I mean, the Federal Reserve is like the deep state, essentially. And this financial crisis that's happening in the background, I'm not talking about the stock market. The stock market is illogical, and the stock market doesn't know what happened until after it's happened. It's happening right now, and the stock market hasn't figured out what's happening right now. But more banks are about to implode, large banks. But it is the regional banks. Resources are flooding out of, deposits are flooding out of the regional banks and heading to larger banks where people feel like they're safer. And so these large regional banks are becoming more and more destabilized and are being opened up to needing to be bought out by larger banks. So that's kind of what we're seeing. And it's just like the plan is progressing. It's hard not to see it that way. And U.S. defenses. One of the major, biggest assets the United States military has is the F-35 fighter jet, stealth, all-around fighter, bomber. It's not really a great bomber, but it is supposed to be able to penetrate enemy radar sites. It's supposed to be able to be undetectable, but that's not really what's happening anymore. Radar has advanced so fast that the fighter jets like the F-35 are already obsolete before they even roll off the production line. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars per F-35. It is ridiculous. Lockheed Martin, which makes the fighters, is there trying to do the software upgrade, hardware upgrade, and it is over a year behind schedule, 16 months behind schedule, and the end doesn't seem to be in any insight. We saw a couple months ago, we had that F-35 that crashed, and we immediately had the grounding of all training and non-combat flights of the F-35s. Friends, when we are in danger of World War III, to see that our mainline fighter jet is having serious problems out there is very disconcerting. And we need to get these hypersonic weapons up off the ground. Lockheed Martin was doing the work on a somewhat promising hypersonic weapon. Hypersonic weapons travel, I believe, over 7 times the speed of sound, whereas supersonic is like below 7. We have supersonic weapons, but hypersonic weapons, extremely fast-moving weapons that Russia, China, and some other countries are investigating as well. But Russia and China, Russia has them and has tested them and is rolling them out and deploying them. They've actually used them in Eastern Europe already, whereas China allegedly has them or is on the verge of getting them. Of course, we believe that Russia's probably helped them out in order to get those things. But the simple fact is the United States, even our most advanced hypersonic weapon tests, our experimental program has now been canceled because it was terminated due to test failures. It wasn't working. And so the question is, so we're just going to fall behind our adversaries and technological capabilities? That's definitely not good. Our F-35s are having serious challenges of getting off the ground and not crashing. And the upgrades that are needed for the targeting packages to be able to use new weapons and surveillance systems, this is 16 months behind schedule and falling behind even more. It just, all the while out there, we're seeing that not only is the political system coming crashing down around us in New York City and around the country, we're seeing our financial system coming down all around us, and on top of that, our defense agencies are failing us completely. Is it greed? Is it negligence, gross negligence, or is it intentional sabotage? I don't know. But whatever it is, we can't seem to get what we need out there in order to defend the United States. We spend billions and hundreds of billions of dollars defending other countries, But when it comes to protecting our own country, it seems like we are less and less able and willing to do so. Friends, keep safe out there. Think through before you do stuff, before you type up stuff online. Make sure that that when you take a stand, you know where you're standing, and think through what will be the result of these stands. Take practical steps. Everyone wants to stand up and do like one thing to be a hero or whatever, but patient persistence in doing good is the best way forward. Organize your church. Organize your political party in your area. Find out who's actually getting people on the ballots. Find out who's helping those people that are getting onto the ballots get into office. Get into the ear of elected officials. Write those letters. Don't write letters that are going to get you in jail. Write letters that are going to influence and win people over and put pressure on government officials. So say nice things, but then let them know how you feel about things and how you want them to vote. Ask them thoughtful questions. Write the letters. Make the phone calls. Participate in your local chapter of your, if you believe in one political party, then volunteer with that political party. If you don't believe in the political parties, well then figure out other people in your area that think along the same lines as you do and help them, work with them to get the right people elected into your school boards, local official offices, congressional offices, all those type of things. Focus in on what you can do and making a difference, Tea Party style, right? Think about along those lines and taking those steps each day. Make sure you're doing something profitable and productive and not just getting angry about things that you can't actually change, because you can't go to New York City probably and talk some sense into the DA, okay? So if you can't do that, well then don't get worked up, stomping mad, angry about stuff that you can't do anything about. If that doesn't move you to profitable, productive actions, then you need to let it go. It's not your problem. If you can't do anything about it, it's not your problem. And pounding out stuff on the keyboard may make you feel better, but it may also get you on a list somewhere. Okay? So those are my thoughts on those things. Keep a wary eye on what's going on. Keep getting more prepared where you live. Food stores, energy stores, getting more self-sufficient, getting more less dependent on the system. If you don't like where the system's going, get more independent from it. All right, folks, those are my thoughts, and let us know what your thoughts are down below. Hopefully you're using not your real name. You're using avatars, using online names, that kind of thing. Google still knows who you are, but everybody else doesn't need to know who you are necessarily. Okay, folks, keep safe out there. If you found this video to be useful or helpful, you might want to check out another video from me right over here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.